Hello, 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 and welcome to the Wednesday Night Modeling Stream. How you guys doing? I'm Bryan Bentley, your streamer for this evening, day, morning, wherever you are in the world, for cgspectrum.com for all your modeling needs. Go to cgspectrum.com/3-modeling. It's been a weird day. It's been a. You ever had one of those days where it's just like technology just fights you, right? It's just like it's like one of those days. It's like tech is just like, no, I'm not doing what you tell me to do. I don't care. Like I don't care if you know what you're doing. It's like I've had one of those days, man. It's been really annoying. But we soldier on through. You have good days, you have bad days. It's up to you to deal with it, to take it as it is. So hopefully it'll turn around. Like I always say, I love the stream. I actually get to sit down for like 2 hours and work and hang out and answer questions and just work on stuff. No agenda, just learning, just straight up learning. Good tea. So what have we been working on? We've been working on last stream we were over in Substance Designer, taking our uh, our mesh bakes from Houdini and putting them into Substance. And I at the last, let's see, let's go back to my color. And this is kind of what I left off with last time. I did a little bit more fiddling after the stream. I always find like whenever I'm done with the stream, I usually can figure out the problem that I had in the stream. Like I always say, doing this and talking at the same time is very, very, very difficult. It's very difficult to do. And so yeah, like usually when I stop talking and I actually sit down and kind of have some time with my thoughts, that's usually when everything kind of just like comes together. So I haven't really done much more to this. The only thing really I did. Okay, let's just walk through what I did. So I started off with, this is my, I think, what did I start? I started off with my normal. So I took my normal and I ran that through a normal intensity to make it like more intense, because but I really only needed the intensity to be on this one, because this one was really, really small. Like I couldn't see my little ridges along these big feathers in here, and I'll get to how I get to that here in a second. I couldn't see those big ridges, so and then I used this left crop. The left crop like this. You can see that here doesn't have any feathers on it, so it doesn't really matter that it's a little bit different color. But so I just did this left crop in to just show, or actually it's left crop that way, so it crops everything off that way up until that point. So if I keep moving this, yeah. Like that, right? So basically does just edits, it allows me to edit the strength of the normal per feather. And so and that also comes down here and feeds into a Sorbel curvature, and I'll show you what that is doing here in a minute. Okay, so from my normal, I'm going out into a height map. I'm generating a height map off of that, so this normal to height, and that's just getting plugged into the height. Now, looking at this, because this is my new normal, I should probably plug this one in here to give me a new height map for that. Yeah. So that one is a little, so that one's like really fuzzy. I actually don't like that. I think I actually did that before and I didn't like it, so I went back. And that's what I really like about, like, just like Houdini, like if you hook something up and it doesn't work, you can just unhook it or just put it back to where it was. So that works really well. So that's generating my height. I don't really use the height much because I'm loosely planning on putting this into Unreal Engine to render, to do some real-time ray tracing. These shiny feathers to see that in real time, so that could be pretty cool. My height, so that's there, and then my ambient occlusion from actual mesh bake that I did. So this is just straight from Houdini into a grayscale conversion, and then into my height there. What else did I do? What else did we do? Okay, so that's my normal. That's my height. My roughness is probably the most interesting. Generally, your roughness map is your most interesting. So basically, I started with that U map that I made before. So it goes from each one 0 to 1, each one, and then go 1 in the middle. Did a grayscale conversion, and then I inverted that grayscale, and then I ran some levels on it just to kind of scooch around where that middle part is. So in this, we're doing roughness, and so the outside here is going to be not rough, and the middle here is going to be quite rough. So it's going to be very shiny on the edges, not so shiny in the middle. And then to add some variation per strand, I brought in my randomized color, turned that into grayscale, and then I think I did an add. So I just added some of this color back in, and I pulled the opacity down because it looked like this originally. No, actually, let me turn off my ray trace render. There we go. See my OpenGL render. So it looked like that originally, and then I just kind of pulled it down until you could see some variation, but not a lot. And that's my roughness map overall. So that went into, and then the other thing that I did with this, so that was my first roughness map. So I left there, and then I went and I did my metallic. So my metallic uses the B-box, right? So each one of these strands has a unique color. So you can see this banding. So this is technically a different value than that. That's a different value than that. So what that allows me to do is to build these bands using the histogram select. So I have a band that goes like that, a band that goes like that, and a band that goes like that. So in the last stream, I went over how all that stuff works. This is just a quick review of where we were, and then we'll move on to where we're going. And it's coming down really hard here in Hong Kong now, so my bandwidth may go up and down and up and down and up and down. Still in my ongoing battle with my ISP service provider because they are terrible. They're absolutely awful. And actually, I need to gather some information here, so just give me 1 second. Great. Cool. Sorry about that. Just had to take a quick little screenshot. Okay, so so build those bands, and then I just start combining them. So I have these two bands go into here and combine that one, and then this band goes into here and combines this one. Now I wanted to have each feather be unique. So like I wanted this one to have just the top, this one to have just the two, so it goes 1, 2, 3 like that. So I just kind of normalize these. So this one, and I'm using that crop again. So I'm cropping from the right, and then this one is I'm cropping from the right as well. So I have 3 very distinct feathers in here. So that's my metalness. So that goes straight into my metalness here. So wherever this is white, it's going to be metallic, and wherever it's black, it's going to be not metallic. So I use that to generate my color. So I have my gold color and my brown feather color, and that just goes into a blend. And that blend is driven by literally my metallic. So if I change my metallic, this is the great thing that I really, really like about working like this. If I were to show this to my art director and he was like, oh, we want like 3 more bands, If I had hand painted this, I would have to hand paint my metallic, and then I would have to hand paint my color again, and I would have to do all this stuff again. Now, whatever I do to my metallic, whatever is white up here is going to get this gold color, and whatever is black up here is going to get the brown color. So it's very, 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 very flexible overall. And then so just for variation, I brought in that my random strands, brought those in, and then I just made an HSL adjustment. So I lightened this, and I used this as my mask, and put that over that, and I get this really, really nice banding per strand. And this is beautiful. So the great thing about this is if I needed to make another feather, the only thing I really need to do is I just need to spit these maps back out of Houdini, and I can plug these maps in, and everything will be hunky-dory. So that's pretty cool. So I actually might end up using that for maybe using this again for, like, I want like some feathers on the face, or maybe some coming out of the hair of the character. So I'm not really sure. But it's always good to have like reusable assets. I always try to make as many reusable assets as I can if I have the time. A lot of times you're under constraints, and you just don't have the time. Let's check. What am I doing on time? That's pretty good. Okay. Yeah. All right. So that's the color. So I just kept on doing that over and over again until I got to about here. Okay. So this sorbel is great for finding edges. So it gives me this really nice edging effect. Like, so it's like it looks like a relief, which is what I really like. It just adds that little punch to the color. So ran that. Ran that through a levels to get me some interesting looking stuff. Like, this looks great. Like, it's kind of, you're getting a little bit of moire pattern here, but just the detail that this brings out is really nice. So I made a lighter version of the overall feather, and then I drove that with that. So I'm getting like this nice little edging here. And actually, like, I kind of, this might be a little bit too particular because you're never getting this close. Maybe I just want to blur this a little bit. Take that intensity way down. Yeah, kind of like that. It kind of softens it up just a little bit. Yeah, it softens it up just a little bit. So let's see what this does. So this is like super sharp. Yeah, I think I like that better. That's feeling way better. It's like it's a little bit softer, feels a little bit more organic. Once again, that's what I love about these systems, right? You can just insert this in, and everything works. So this is going to go all the way up to color. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's all of them. That's all of them. So let's say I actually ended up putting this on my Instagram account, but so I didn't want to go all the way out to Houdini to make like a production render or like a I don't know, just like a show-offy render for this. So just like in Substance Painter, there's a camera in here. You can have an iRay render. You can have post-process stuff like that. You can have all that in here, but it's a little hidden. Substance Designer is, even though it's less popular than Substance Painter, because I feel like people, I don't know what it is about people, whenever they see like graphs like this, they like freak out. They're like, oh my god, it's so complex. I find stuff like this, I find this way less complex than layered systems like Substance Painter or Photoshop, or the compositing. And if you're talking about film and video, it would be like Nuke versus After Effects, or Fusion versus After Effects. People see graphs and they freak out. I tend to like graphs more because I can see exactly what's going on. With layers, you have to like dig through the layers and see like, okay, what's this doing, and is this thing does this thing has to be positioned just underneath that thing for like track mats and stuff like that, and you end up duplicating things and pre-comping things so that you can add effects on top of groups of things, and it's a big old mess. not to say that After Effects is not a completely amazing, powerful tool. It's been around forever. I personally just enjoy noodling more than layering. They always say, like, in modern computer graphics, you're either a noodler or a layer person. So you like pasta or cake. I'm a pasta person, for sure. What else? Okay, cool. Production render. So, first thing I'm going to do, because this is so, my wing is so weird, and it's like all one-sided, and it's got like all this transparency in it, it's not really great for this render. This render is kind of meant for solid things like cars and weapons and stuff like that. Actually, this is really not even meant to do this. Like, it's that you're not supposed to have it's not designed to have a full, like, to be texturing a model that's this specific. It just lent itself very, very well to these feathers, so that's what I use it for. So, always use the right tool for the job. And sometimes what the tool is designed for, it might not, like, this isn't meant to be a texturing app. It's supposed to make substances, so it's called Substance Designer. But I mean, if you realize that something has like a niche and you can use it, go ahead and use it. Like, and that's what I really like. I really like using stuff for things that it's not designed for, but it still does things really, really well. I'm trying to think of a real world example. Oh, real world example of this. Like, if you're ever doing clay, or you're working with Sculpey clay or monster clay or Chavant clay. When that oil-based, especially oil-based clay comes, it's really, really, really hard. That's what makes it such good clay. It's hard enough to hold like small details so that like they don't kind of fall apart when you cut that line in to like a really hard oil-based clay. It stays exactly where it's supposed to be. But starting off, it might be a little hard to take. There is one weird thing that's happening with this is my feathers are they're like overlapping each other right here, and I have no idea what's doing that. It might be a drawing error or something. And double check. I went back to the let's turn that eye off. Okay, it's done right. So if I turn this off, turn on my wireframe, these guys are fine. Like, they're sitting like nicely on top of each other. I'm not really sure what's going on there. But I don't think it's going to be a problem. I'm almost positive it's a rendering error. But yeah. So cool. We'll get to that in a minute. All right. Back to designer. So if I want a production render, I can just render it like that, right? Or so I can start to put some pizzazz on whatever you want. I can say so. Right now, my iterations are at 500 and 1 minute. So I edit that. So the render in the substance tools is called iRate. It's very, very simple. It's not like Arnold where you have like all these options and you can fine tune everything, because it's not meant for animation. They're just trying to get it so you can make a pretty picture as quickly as possible. So in new substance tools, the Adobe substance tools, they take this a step further. They have this thing called Stager, which is it's kind of like Marmoset Toolbag, I would say. It's meant to do fast renders that you don't really have to have a lot of super, super technical knowledge about sampling and all that stuff. It just kind of works, which is good, but it's not very flexible, right? Like that's the thing that makes Arnold and RenderMan is that they can render anything, right? The same render, like RenderMan was used to do Transformers and Luca and like Big Hero 6, right? Those are three very different looking movies, and they're all done with the same renderer because it's very versatile. Now, and that versatility makes it a little bit harder to use. It's not any better or worse than anything else. But anyway, so if I want basically if I want better quality, I just turn up my max samples, and I'll turn up my time, and that's when it'll just keep cranking and cranking and cranking until it either hits the maximum samples or the maximum amount of time. So I can say, all right, I want to spend 10 minutes on this render. I'll just set my samples to like 1,000,000, so it'll just keep on sampling, and then I'll set my max time to 10 minutes, and it'll just run for 10 minutes, and then it'll be done. So yeah. So that's one thing. So I got it to about 560 seconds. That's pretty good. So the next thing I need is I want to play with my camera. So if I say I select the camera, and I say edit selected. So now I get all my camera attributes. So this is where all your kind of like post-processing fun stuff is. So if I move this, so if I put this, like make this kind of, so I can set my resolution. So now it says use window resolution. So I'm going to say false. So now I can make this square. So I could say 1920, 1920. Thank God that didn't confirm until I pressed enter. I would have been in trouble with 19 million pixels. Probably would have crashed my machine. Okay, so let's say that we like that vantage point. Next thing I can do is start. What is aperture? Aperture is basically it's the size of the hole in your camera. This is basically one of those things. I don't know why I'm saying basically. So, ask me, should I learn to draw, or should I learn what else should I learn along with computer graphics, like modeling and lighting and cinematography, or not cinematography, but lighting and rendering? Is learn cinematography. Learn how cameras work. Still cameras, motion cameras, they all work on the same principle. In fact, projectors work on the same principle, or old-timey projectors work on the same principle. Know how cameras work. Know what aperture means. Know what f-stops mean. The type of lens, like what is a long lens versus a short lens do. These types will very, very much make your art much, much, much better. I know my art got way better when I started learning about cameras and I started messing around with photography. And they're so cheap now. Cameras are so cheap. There's no reason not to dabble a little bit. You can even rent cameras. You can rent a camera for a weekend and learn how to use it. So yeah. So what the aperture does is the wider the hole, the bigger the hole, the more light it's going to let in. Now, in this case, that's not really what it's doing. All our aperture is really doing is controlling our depth of field. So if I turn this up, okay. So actually, what I'm going to do, I wonder if I can turn this back to OGM, just for speed. Yeah, it looks like those are only on when I'm in iRay, which is unfortunate, but that's okay. Okay, so my aperture, and then I think it's Control and click. Yeah, so I can control and left click, and I can set you can see my focal distance moving around here. Aperture is 0.01. much. It's too much. So generally that's what I do with this stuff. I just keep on chopping it in half until it starts to look good. Or if I need to go the other way, I'll just double it. So let's say 0.15. 0.05. I'll let this resolve a little bit. It's just a little bit too much. 0.25. Yeah, I like that. This is a little out of focus. These are a little out of focus. All this is in focus, and then this stuff is out of focus back here. All right, cool. To make this a little bit smaller, I'm going to make this about half. Let's do 900 by 900. So it's just a little bit faster. Okay, so post effects enabled. Now, I will say this. Be ginger. Try to be as soft with your post effects as you can, because if you push them too far, it's gonna make everything look really, really cheesy. Okay, so I'm gonna turn on my post effects, and the first thing I'll do is let's look at our glare. So the glare is basically, it's just like lens flare. It's like, oh, lens flare, right? So my glare. Let's take the lens to see what we get out of it. Yeah, so if I pull that threshold down, you're starting to see that like little bloom effect, right? So I've seen people are like that have like this super dreamy, super dreamy look, right? Like maybe that's this look you're going for, but it's a little cheesy. So first thing I do is I turn my luminance all the way up so I can actually see where things are happening, and then I'll just start to bring my threshold up. So this is a pretty. So I'll bring my threshold up until it just starts to disappear. So I want it to be just a little glint right there. And then I can bring my luminance down. So I want you to just be able to see it. Okay, and then you have the different types. So you have, I usually just set this, by default it's like this filter cross screen spectral, so it gives you kind of like this, Tron looking thing. I just like to change it to bloom. Maybe I'll just bring my threshold up a little bit more. So I'm getting just a little bit of bloom on those edges there. Cool. And so this kind of controls each one. That's really all I ever really do. I don't do any of this star or anything like that. You can add a little bit of lens distortion. So if you're looking at, once again, knowing about a camera, lens distortion, you get kind of like barrel distortion on really wide angle lenses. So you could play around with that. So you could get a little bit of this, like you get like this kind of like old timey television look. So that's probably way too much. Once again, just a little bit goes a really long way. Just take my edge around this down. So you could go like full on fish eye, right? So so this FOV stands for field of view. The wider your field of view is, the shorter your lens is, the more distortion you're going to get. So these two things kind of work together. So I don't want it to look too bloated. So just subtlety. Vignette just darkens around the edges, kind of like an iris effect. I usually don't turn that on. And then light shafts. I rarely ever use these. They're really hokey. Unless you're trying to go for something a very, very special effect. I usually leave those off. And then there's some color correction, like if you want, you know, more saturation or less saturation, you can do that. Contrast, you can bring up your contrast. So it's all just kind of like little nice little like Photoshop wheels or like color correction wheels that you can kind of edit. But this is kind of like for like presentation. I would just be doing this for, you know, like an art director or something. So if you think it's a little bit too dark, you can bring your exposure up. Just bring everything up a little bit. Actually, I do kind of like that a little bit brighter. And you can also change your midpoint here. Yeah, and so once you're done with that, you can, what is it? You can say scene. Yeah, so under camera, you can say save viewport image, or you can say save render, and that'll save that out to its own. It'll save it out to its own. What's the word I'm looking for? File. If you have an ArtStation account, you can save it directly to ArtStation, which is actually pretty cool. That's really nice. So whenever you see on ArtStation, people are doing like those, like the substance materials, and it's either on like the sphere or the cylinder. They might be doing this from here. Like if they're just hook it up to their ArtStation account. So if I want to save this render, so I already have one here. So we'll say render stream. And I tend to not render as a JPEG out of Substance because it makes the JPEG makes the background transparent. So I usually just save it as a JPEG for now. Because there's really no options. It would be nice to say, you know, save alpha channel or something like that, but it doesn't. So, so I don't want to save it as ZXR, JPEG. So I already have one there. So let's do that. And we can go and look at that image. So there's my render. Looks exactly the same. It's almost like it's almost like as if I like screen grab this. Was basically what it is. Like this render is already done. Like this is the image that we're working with. So that's how we ended up making the feathers for the wing. So super excited. I've never done this before. So that's pretty cool. What now? We're about a half an hour in. Do I want to change gears? I think I'm going to change gears. Let's go back to Houdini. And I want to make sure that, say, objects. Where am I still seeing those? Feathers. Looks display error. So I want to get those out, and I just want to see them in Houdini. It's not going to look 100% correct, but we'll see. I also want to see what my UVs are doing at this point, because I still have this guy in here, and I want to see what his UVs are doing, or her UVs, or their UVs are doing. So let's say Shift 5. So yeah, it doesn't look like I have any. Oh, maybe I am. Maybe it's in a different spot. Okay, so it looks like the UVs from this guy, because he should have came in. This should have came in with UVs. Yeah, that came in with UVs. Those should go somewhere. And actually, I think. Do I want to make that a different texture? Yeah, I think I'll put a different material on this. But I think I'm also destroying my UV data. So I want to say keep Again, love these systems. Love these systems. So if I come back down to here, I should get, yeah, so there's that UV and there's that UV. So I think what I'll do is I will group. So these are all my feathers here. And this is my kind of like wing structure. So what we'll do is we'll group these together. Not group them, we'll merge. Merge them first. So this guy comes down to here, and that guy comes over there. And then cut that off. That goes to there. Right, cool. So this is my feathers, and this is my kind of like root wing thingy. Here, let's just drag that down. What have I done? Okay, so I'm gonna group this guy. Let's say base feather, all feathers. And this guy is going to be we'll call this a wing arm. Okay, so when I come into here, should give me both of those pieces of information come back. And then so now, when I turn this guy on, well, we should see this disappear. Yeah, because that doesn't have any information on it. Actually, well, we can see it now because it's got that UV, because that UV is being used over and over again. So this in this quick material for this principal shader, we'll call this feathers. Material. Oh no, I usually use SDR as in shader. So it's principal shader, and so I'll make another one. So this one is only going to affect the all feathers group, and so now that gets left alone. So we have that left over, and then I'll just make another one. I'll say add, and we'll say feathers shader. We'll call this wing arm STR, and that will only apply to wing arm. So this guy will just be, I'll just grab like kind of like that brown, one of those brown tints that I had over in substance. And actually over in substance, if I jump over to substance, I can actually just find that value. So it's let's do float 0.09, 0.25, 0.13. So that would be HSV 0.09. What was it? 0.25. 0.13. So down a little bit. Cool. Great. So I don't really have to do, I'm not really going to do much else of that because it's going to be mostly covered, or almost completely covered, with feathers. So let's save this. Okay. Whew. Moving along. All right. So the next thing I want to do is I want to get these outputs out. So that's super simple. I'm going to save this as well. I'm going to save file, save all. So I'm going to, let's see, let's right click and say export outputs as bitmaps. Super simple. these are all my outputs. It's just going to export each one of these as its own individual bitmap. So if we go through and we look at all of them, that's my color, that's my normal, it's my roughness. And on my roughness, you can see that I took my my metallic. So I made like a darker version of my roughness using levels. So I made this really dark, and then so I took that and I masked that off with my metallic. So I want those gold parts to be very shiny. So they have to be not very rough. So you can see where the gold is on these. You don't really have a lot of roughness, so you get that nice shine to them. Before they were looking more like beat up brass, and I want them to be very pristine, very gold, very shiny. So that's where that comes from. And in general, like your roughness map is going to be your coolest looking map, or at least that's been my experience. Your roughness map always looks cool. It's always got like so much like detail and stuff. So I usually leave color to last. I usually don't even worry about color because beat up plastic looks like beat up plastic. The thing that makes something look like plastic is its reflection, which is its roughness, right? So things that look like metal is their reflection, which is also roughness. Your roughness, more than probably any other map, when you're doing look dev, tells the story of how that object was used or abused or not. Like if something was sitting on a shelf in a museum for 10 years, it's going to be very pristine and very taken care of. Or if something's just come off of an assembly line in a factory, it's not going to have a lot of dings and dirts and stuff. If like something has been used a lot, like if it's like a farm implement or like a tractor or something, unless it's come straight off the off of the assembly line or out of a car wash or something, it's gonna have some dirt like tucked into crevices and stuff. So maybe some mud on the bottom of the chassis, stuff like that. Even the color of mud, right? Like if you're doing like an Earth farmer, it's probably gonna be brown. But if you're doing a Mars farmer, it might be red, or some other alien, the mud may be green or purple or something. So you really can tell a story with your look dev as much as you can with acting or modeling or sound design, all that stuff. So it all goes into a larger theme to tell a larger story. Okay, so that's my roughness. So my metallic, this is my height and ambient occlusion and opacity. So I'm gonna say export outputs as and it's actually pretty good for this. Like it's gonna PNGs are fine. It says graph, the star graph. So my graph is feather, and then my identifier is whatever this is. So base color, normal, roughness, metallic, height, ambient occlusion, opacity, and it's gonna be spit out to let's see. It's gonna go to users, Dropbox, Projects Valkyrie, look dev. Don't want to spit that out there. No, because I want Houdini to be able to get to this. So let's go back up to Project Valkyrie. Let's go to Houdini projects, Valkyrie, and we'll go to text. So I'll spit that out to there. I'll say none. Oh, okay. And then I really don't need. Yeah, so base color is sRGB. Everything else is going to be a raw. So export outputs. Says exporting background. It should tell me when it's done. If I wanted just one of these, I could just right click on this and say. I could just right click and say, where is it? Over here. I could double click and I could say I could save this to wherever and call it whatever. But doing it from over here gives you that automated naming, and it's very nice, and it's very what's the word I'm looking for? It's very efficient. Efficient, yes. I'm having a lot of brain farts today. I don't know what's going on. Like I said, I've had a rough day. I've had a pretty rough day. Lots of stuff not working for me today. But looks like my luck is turning around. Things are going pretty good for this stream, even though I'm screaming into the void. Yes. Okay, so let's go check that path. Let's go to Houdini projects, Valkyrie, text, and yeah. So there are our outputs. So ambient occlusion, base color, feathers height, metallic, feathers normal, opacity, and roughness. So let's see what these look like inside of the Houdini editor. So let's save this. And we'll drop that. We'll come back in here. And so let's go and grab. So we want feather arm. Let's go back to 1. Let's go all feathers. So our base color, my tint is going to be white. Because I don't want it to tint. Grab text. Base color. Ooh, look at that. It's already looking good. It's already looking super, super good. And so that's my normal map from before. Opacity. Basically just using that same opacity map, but just for consistency, I'll go and grab that feather mesh map opacity. Oh no, that's for my renders. I want text. Basically the same thing. Normal texture. Once again, yeah. Text. Normal. Oh yeah, that's looking wonderful. And coming back out of Substance and seeing this and getting it, being able to go back to like kind of like the regular kind of viewport, like a traditional viewport, kind of changes the way things look. It changes the way you kind of feel about it and the way you process it. In Substance, for some reason, these were flipping up a little bit too much for me. I think I may have done something in between the streams, but these are looking way better. They're playing pretty flat. They're laying pretty nice and flat. So that was my normal texture. My roughness texture, gonna go get same thing. Roughness. So the thing is Houdini's viewport is not the best, but we'll work our way through. And so that acts as a multiplier. So I'll just set that back to 1. Getting that. My metallic texture. Where is it? Metallic. And once again, let's set that metallic to 1. And ooh wee, look at that. Oh my stars and garters. That is absolutely beautiful. So it's really only reflecting the it's really only reflecting the headlamp, but God, look at that. That is gorgeous. That is absolutely beautiful. I am super happy with this. That is stunning. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That, oh man, look at that. Maybe it's a little bit too much. Yeah. So, so I've kind of assuaged my my worries here. So I'm getting actually like that proper opacity in there. So let's see what this looks like if I go. So let's say this tweaks it back. This puts it back up in world space. Let's mirror it. Oh yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. And this was just for testing, and these were for output. That is, woo, that looks really, I'm super happy with this. Like, I love it when, like it doesn't happen all the time. So trust me, it doesn't happen all the time, but that is wonderful. That is really, really nice. I really like what that's looking like. Man, round trip is, it's such a good feeling when you get that round trip, when you actually nail it, when you come out of a software and then come back in and everything just kind of lines up just right. man, oh man, this day just got so much better, and you can like I love what I do, man. This is a good feeling. I could just tumble around this and look at the light play off of this all day. All right, let's try to do, since this is looking really pretty good. Let's I wonder. So let's hide these. Let's drop a Tommy in here. Got thug booty angel. that's fantastic. So just to let's pop in here and let's not do textures. I don't want those to be too distracting. I know this isn't where they go, but I still just want to get a feel of what this is going to look like on an actual biped. So my other character, she's very short. She's probably only about like this. Oh, actually, yeah, she's only probably about like this tall. So her feathers are coming out of her like lower back, like right there, I believe. So the reason I'm doing this on object level, if I just zero that stuff out, it'll go back to where it was before. But I just kind of want to see this on a character or on a biped. Yeah, that looks about the right size because he's pretty big overall. So maybe if I make him smaller. Yeah, that's dope. So make him about 0.8. 0.85. Yeah, because I think that's about how big she is. So it's always good to do, like when you're working on large projects, first thing I always suggest is try to break it up into smaller projects. So like I said, so my wings, like these wings are a project. The talons and the feet will be a project. The hair will be a project. The skin will be a project. The clothing will be a project. And then once you got all that stuff, you kind of put it together and then massage everything together to make it all look really nice. But this is wonderful. Okay. Right. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a nice another little render here. Like that. I'm gonna save this. Cool, and I'm gonna make a camera, so I'm gonna hold down Control and click. So that should give me a camera here. I might put this on Instagram. I think I'm gonna put this on Instagram, so I'm gonna take my view and I'm gonna do, let's do HD 1080, and I'm just gonna do 1920 by 1920. So this is one of the things that I was like, God, this is so weird. So if I go no cam. I need to go to cam, and then if I want to move my camera, I have to lock it to my viewport, and then I can move it. So I really want the wing to be. He's gonna kind of be secondary. I want to make sure I get, a little bit of room around the edges for like a margin. So something like that. Yeah. And I used to hate this system, but now I really like it because. Like you have to like consciously lock your camera to your viewport. Whereas in Maya, I don't know how many times I've accidentally like nudged or bumped my camera, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't get back to where I was before. And I have to go back to a previous file and export the camera and then re-import it. It's just, it's a pain in the ass. But with this, it's great. Okay, so next thing is I want an environment. I think I just want just want an environment light. And I'm just going to go grab one of the kind of pre-built environment maps. And actually, I think I have a bunch of environment maps somewhere on my computer. Let me see if I can find them. Let's see. I think it's under. Where did I put them? I think I put them in documents. Documents. Oh no, I put them under algorithmic. And I have my substance painter, and I have my shelf, and I have my environments. Ah, there we go. Tons of environments in here. I don't want to show sequences. So let's see what I can use. I want something pretty bright. I think this cloudy sky free here should be okay. So I'm still using my headlight, so if I go to regular lighting, I should see, there we go. Okay, so let's just pop over to my, actually, I'm gonna just go ahead and make a mantra output here. So let's go to output, drop down a mantra node, and my camera is gonna be cam 1, it's the one I made. Override camera resolution, I'm gonna do, for now, I'm gonna do 3rd resolution. And yeah, let's let this rip. So let's say output, say rendering. Okay, let's go to render view. So, I usually use mantra. There's always like the big debate over you know, which render is the best and which render works the best. I say use whatever render you have. Is my kind of overarching kind of philosophy. I haven't bought Redshift. I haven't bought Octane. I know those are very very popular, and they work really well and they're super fast. But like I don't render a lot, so it's not really worth. I actually might buy them just because I'm doing more of this type of work and I kind of want a faster to first pixel. So yeah, let's see. So I can start to click around. Actually, I'm just going to turn off progressive render here. And so I just want my full buckets. I just want to see my full buckets. So I'm just going to hold down Shift, drag, so it just kind of puts all my computing power right there. And so now I can start to go back and start to do some look development. So let's go go back to my objects, and let's go to my wings, and let's turn that. I think I want to turn that metallic all the way back up. Yeah, that brightened it up a little bit. Now, I don't really know what that. I have an idea of what that that HDRI looks like. Let's go use one of the calibrated Houdini ones. So I think I can do pick HDRI and this is the one that most people use. Yeah, it's feeling a little bit better. So your lighting, I mean, like, cause I was like, oh man, this looks really washed out. It was my lighting. So your lighting can really, really, really change what your I mean, obviously it can change what your overall render looks like. So this is getting some nice highlights, some much better highlights here. I think I want to like maybe like some kicker lights and a harder rim light here. But I'm really happy where this is going. This is looking really, really cool. I'm liking this sheen that's down here that I'm getting. Liking this stuff. Like, it's coming together quite well. Yeah. So I'm finding this dude kind of distracting, but I do like the way it's sitting on the shoulders. Like, it feels believable. It feels like it could be. It's about human size. Like, these look like they could kind of like carry him through the sky if they needed to. Yeah, but for presentation purposes, like, people may look at this, right? Anytime you see a human figure, like a human face that's shaded, like, you're gonna look at that. So I don't want people to look at that. So what I'm gonna do, or what I'm gonna try to do, I haven't done this before. I keep on saying that during this, but I'll figure it out. So let me stop this, and I'm gonna go over to my material palette, and I think there used to be a constant in here. If not, I can just make my own. I really don't want to, but I can. There's the principal shader, skin, concrete. Oh, here we go. Constant. So I'm going to take that constant. I'm going to put it on Tommy. Yeah. So now he's just going to render as like a solid-ish color. Okay. This is cool, like an angel. I don't know, like flying through the sky. So he's going to render as a solid color. I don't want him to render white. Let's do like 50% gray. Oh no, that's my light. I want my constant. Surface color 50% gray. So let's go back to my render view and let's render that again. Also, like in Houdini, wherever you click, it'll kind of start rendering whenever the scene is generated. Yeah, so now I just, like, you can tell it's a person, but you're not, like, you're like, okay, obviously I shouldn't be looking at this. I should be looking, like, over here. And I don't want to waste, like, render times on that guy. I could bring in the actual character, minus the wings. I may do that. But this is like a good, like, you know, like first pass. Okay, cool. So I'm going to tune this render a little bit. I mean, while we're in here, why not? So let's see. I want to do physically based rendering. So stop this. I want to, let's see. I'm going to take my noise level. Actually, let's do global quality, diffuse quality, SSS quality. I don't have any SSS. I don't need that. Reflection, refraction. Don't have any volume. Let's see. That's all for volume. Cool. Limits. Reflection limit, diffuse limit, SSS limit, volume. Don't need that. Cool. So my sampling, let's bump this up to 4 and 4. And let's take our noise level down to 5. I just want to get rid of some of this noise in here. Like I have like these really high frequency slits on here, so that's gonna cause a fair bit of noise. I'm thinking about that now. But hopefully I want to do this in a real-time renderer, so that won't be as much of a problem. Like this noise is really only to be, you really don't have to worry about noise in path tracers. With real-time renders, real-time rendering, hopefully I'll get my Unreal Engine work up and running before next God, I'm saying a lot today. Before the next stream, I will hopefully be able to show you that workflow. So basically getting all of this out of Houdini and then into Unreal Engine and getting that looking spectacular as well. So yeah, these are, so you can see this is a little bit more noisy, this is a little bit cleaner. So this is a pretty simple scene to render as well. And it's the overall image is quite small. It's only 639 by 639 by 639. So some of this could be just like literally it's a very low range image. But okay, so let's add in some a little bit of lighting in here. So I'm gonna like kind of like maybe like a key light like here. And then I want a fill light over here. Oh, am I still rendering? I think I am. Yeah, I am. So yeah, there's that light. So that's really giving me that nice metallic look now. We're able to see that center spine and those little guys very nicely. This key and this will be fill. This will be sky. Man, that looks great. That looks absolutely great. I'm super stoked about this. All right, so while that runs, I'm gonna free up some systems. So I'm just gonna save this, and this is already saved. I'm just gonna close all this down because the substance tools are very heavy. And it's probably not a good idea to be rendering with the substance tools open as well. All right, so that's done. So let's do a full one, see what this looks like. So already I think my key is a little bit too hot. So let's take our exposure down to 4. Let's see what it looks like over here. I think I'm going to turn my progressive back on, my preview back on, just so I can see what my lights are doing, so I don't have to go full buckets. Yes, this is definitely too hot. fill. I usually like to make my fills pretty bright because I want like that edge hit there. And then I'm going to give my key just a little bit of sunlight. So we're going to go on our color. We're going to go on a temperature. And maybe crash. Maybe crash Houdini. So let me stop this so I can move my temperature. Just want just a little bit of yellow in there. And then my fill, I'm going to have just a little bit of blue in there. And then I think I want to reframe this just a bit. Camera, lock that down. Really just want to focus on that wing. I might not even need Tommy for this. It might have just been like a fit test. Almost looks like it's coming out of the back of his arm now, but that's fine. I'll turn off preview and just go to final buckets. Oh yeah, that's wonderful. I'm digging this. I'm really liking what I'm seeing right now. And like the thing that I love about this is like these are all just flat planes. Like this whole scene is only taking up less than 2 gigs of video of CPU memory or GPU memory, which is really small. Like, and that's why it's rendering relatively fast. I mean, it's not real time, but this is pretty fast. Because I'm not rendering each one of those little barbs. So now I'm getting those little barbs. I'm seeing all this kind of come together. It's looking really good. Very fantastical. I'm really glad I got rid of that black. It's going to give me a little bit more choices for my color scheme. I went and looked up. I'm kind of jumping ahead for like the rest of the costume and like what the other colors that are going to be. They're going to be on the costume. I found this great color scheme, like this dark blue into a lighter blue, into a brown, into like this is like a soft gray, and a smoke gray, and then this gold copper. I'm thinking like I'm going to use these. This is going to be the skin color. Well, I already have these 2 colors. And then the costume will be these 2 colors and maybe these 2 colors. I don't know if this will be the accent or that will be the accent, and then I'll have like little gold. I think gold, like, because I said I still want to keep it like a Norse type, so like those Norse runes like around the neck or like on the front of the clothing. I also found this color scheme, which is very similar. So I really like this color scheme, and I like this one because it shows you it in action. And that's one of the things about like kind of like being like working in digital art or just art in general, is I can look at this and I can like kind of like transpose these colors onto my character. Like this is like mostly these 2 colors. Like most of this image is like this blue color, so I'm thinking like this is going to be most of the costume. These 2 colors are going to kind of be an accent, and then the brown here is going to be the brown and gold. And I really like that they put that brown and gold right next to each other on this cabinet, is because my brown and gold is also right next to each other. So these 2 colors right next to each other seem to work well together. I didn't plan that. It was kind of a happy accident, but I'm glad it gave me like an anchor point to like jump off to like different styles. So this is moving quite well. I'm digging this. It's about 5 minutes. Not too bad. Not too bad for wait for a render. Waited way longer for renders in the past. So I'm still getting a little bit of grain in here. I could probably, if I turn on my, we'll go over some render, some render theory. I'm not great at tuning my renders in Houdini. I'm better at tuning my renders in Arnold, but we'll see. We'll see. So looks like I'm getting some grain in here. Not really sure where that's coming from. So let's do this. Let's go over to out context, and we're gonna go to images, and I'm gonna go to image planes. Now, image planes in Houdini are passes, or like AOVs, you would call them in Arnold or in RenderMan, or whatever else. So I want to turn on. I don't need my shading position. I don't want PZ. I want direct lighting and indirect lighting per component. I don't think I need anything else. Maybe my ray samples. Direct ray samples, indirect ray samples. Subsurface. I don't think I need any of that stuff. Yeah, I don't have any subsurface. Surface metallic, don't need that. Surface roughness, don't need that. Really, I just want to see where my noise is coming from. So if I go in here, now if I look at my indirect samples, if I do indirect diffuse, so there's almost nothing in my indirect diffuse. Indirect reflect, that's really noisy. That's where most of my noise is coming from almost. My indirect reflection, I don't have any refraction. Direct diffuse, actually no. My direct diffuse is a little noisy in there. A little noisy. A little bit of chatter in there. And that's because of that those high frequency lines. This is the same thing as that if you're rendering hair, like things that are like high frequency, you always have to turn up your sampling to get it, because it's so small. It's such small details. Direct reflection. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna have to up my camera samples. I don't have any coat. Don't have any refraction. Don't have any volume. Don't have any SSS. So let's see. Direct diffuse. Yeah, I think I just need to up my samples on my rendering. So let's stop this, and let's do a min ray samples. This value is the minimum number of secondary rays for the BSDF when generating. Okay, so direct is going to be with my pixel samples. You can also call these camera samples. Indirect is going to be down here in my min and max samples. So let's do, and these are also multiply against everything in here. So let's see, direct diffuse. Let's do 6 and 6. And let's do 16 indirects. I'm looking at just right here. See if I can clean that up just a little bit. I can also kind of bring in my denoiser a little bit. If I can get this just a little bit cleaner, I can use my denoiser. and that'll clean up the last little bit of that chatter for me. Yeah, ooh, yeah, that cleaned that up real nice. Look at that. So that chatter that's out here, and you can really see it. This chatter that's out here is now gone in here. Oh yeah, that's great. That's much nice. And then I can maybe denoise. So I'm like when denoisers are starting to become really popular because they allow you to like kind of like turn your samples down and use the denoiser to kind of get rid of some of that chatter, but it does soften your image a little bit. So and plus too, denoisers didn't really exist when I was coming in, so I don't really trust them because I'm an old man and it's hard to teach an old man to learn new tricks. But yeah, this will look good. So if this works, then what I'll do is I'll go and get the actual character, and I'll export them as a just as a maybe just the clothing, or no, maybe the whole character. I don't know. And we'll see how that fits on them. So we'll bring them into Houdini as well. Let's just turn on preview so I can see the whole thing real quick. I'm so impatient when it comes to rendering. I usually don't render like this. I usually just like let it rip and then go get lunch or go get something to eat and then come back and see what it looks like. So this denoiser is turning this on in the viewport here. If I want it to turn on in the renderer, I can go over to images and then it is under output and pixel filter. So I would take, and so this kind of weird wobbliness, that's the denoiser doing its job over the actual render. It actually looks kind of cool, but not exactly what I'm going for. But as it starts to resolve, it'll get cleaner and cleaner and cleaner and cleaner eventually. So if I wanted to do that here, I would do down here, like at the very bottom there, there's that NVIDIA optics denoiser. So that'll actually denoise my actual my actual render. If I turn this off, I should just, yeah. So that's my base image. And if I turn the denoiser on, so there's that. So we'll just sit and have like a little zen moment. Let this come through, see what it looks like. Could take, let's see, ETA hasn't come up yet. 14, 15, 10, 12, 13. So that is the kind of like the big, what's the word I'm looking for? Criticism of Mantra. It's very, very versatile. It's very, very powerful. It is also rather slow. It is rather slow. This should not take, in my opinion, like this shouldn't take 20 minutes to render, especially at such a small resolution. I'm probably oversampling this a little bit on my rendering because I just kind of turned this up to 6 and 6. So actually, for the sake of time, let's turn this back down to 3 and 3. Okay, while that runs, I'm gonna do a suicide mission and try to go grab the model to bring in here to see what that looks like against the actual wings. So I'm just gonna put my I can also go and export her hand. So that's the next thing we're going to work on is that bird talon hand that she has. Yeah, I'm going to run that denoiser. Just waiting for Maya to open. My system is just crying right now. I'm rendering, I'm streaming, I'm recording, I'm trying to open Maya. My poor workstation. My poor workstation. Yeah, it's because of this, like stuff like this, where I'm like, maybe I should get Redshift, because Redshift would probably be done by now. Like it is for all accounts that I've heard about it. It's like you press the button and like before you look over, it's more or less already done. Well, maybe not that bad, but it's coming from Mantra. People say it is incredibly fast, incredibly fast. So everybody wants to get to that final pixel faster. That's the game, is getting that final pixel as fast as you can. So getting iterations out as fast as you can, and getting to that final image as quickly as possible. Still processing. So this one I'm working in Maya 2020. I've just upgraded to Maya 2022 through an educational license, and I will say that Maya 2022 starts up so much faster. It is amazing how fast 2022 starts up compared to 2020. So good job, Autodesk, on listening to people, because that was just like it used to take like 10 minutes for Maya to open with a heavy scene, which is crazy. Once again, like trying to get to that final pixel as fast as you can. Your boot up time matters. Like if you're working on 6 shots and it takes you 5 minutes to open your shot, every time you close and reopen, every time you come in, those 5 minutes start to add up. Okay, not too bad. It's 3 minutes. Got a little bit of chatter in there, but it's looking pretty good. Pretty good. And this is also a very, very small image. So hopefully Maya will let me do my thing. Okay, great. That actually worked out really well. So let's see. Recent. Is this gonna grab my? Oh, I don't have any recent files. Okay. So I'm gonna say file, set project. Where did I put it? It is in. I put it in the Dropbox. Oh, wait. Setting my project. So now I can say open. Publish model. 500. Right. So let's export. Basically, I'll just export the whole thing. I'm just gonna shoot the whole thing out, just so I can get a good idea of this. I want to delete those. Let's do that. Yeah, because then that'll allow me. I can just grab the hand and the foot just from the whole thing. And the head, so I can basically do that whole thing in there. Okay, great, cool. Let's see. Yeah, so I'm gonna say file, export selection. It's gonna be a FBX. Export selection. Look at my options. Don't want to send out any animation. I don't want to send out any lights. I don't want to send out any cameras. I think that's fine. I think that should be okay. Export selection. Okay, so let's go to Houdini. That's beautiful. Stop this. Scene. Unlock. Let's go back to my headlamp. God, that looks so cool with the headlamp. I wish it looked that cool with the light on. Anyway, that looks so dope. All right, so let's go back to my object mode, and let's do a file. No, let's do geometry. Here. Goes to the objects. Let's do a file. Let's see, what are you angry about? Expected object near offset. I do not know what that means. Let's check the actual file. File IO for me is always a pain. Geo. Ooh, it looks empty. Looks empty. File. Export selection. FBX export. Export selection. Maya feather. No, Maya. Full Maya. Include. Let's do 2011. That's strange. Don't know why this isn't. Let's try to F X. This just doesn't want to export. It's very strange. Let's try using the game exporter. Feels a little bit better. Took a little bit longer. Well, it's huge, which is fine. Now let's look at FBX exporter. So that's fine. That's good. This one is still coming up zeros. That's still zeros. Reload geometry. Yeah, there she is. So let's do, just so we can see. So there's some crazy stuff going on here. Anytime you go between packages, there's always going to be a little bit of cleanup. I don't know why she has those. That's fine. Let's just do a clean. Just get rid of everything. Wow, I might have to do this piece by piece. She is all over the place. Actually, no. Not sure what's going on here. There is some crazy going on. You have to remember this is a very old what's the word I'm looking for? File. So there could be, and going between Maya and Houdini is going to be strange, but we have a good idea of what she looks like. Her feet are fine. Let's look at the geometry spreadsheet. Top, bottom. P. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. All right, so I just might have to doctor some of that geometry coming in, but we have a character in here. So let's see. I need to do that. Actually, you know what? Let's try one more thing. FBX character import. Joints inside of her. Okay. All right. So let's just do this one. Seems to be the cleanest one out of all of them. I'm gonna do a transform. One. Yeah, so I was right. She is about that short. And then let's do this. Let's do that 0.1. I want to get rid of the wings that she has. Sounds horrible. Let's have one. Let's do the last. And we're going to do connected geometry by name. Oh, it's not bringing in the name. This one's bringing in the name. This one's bringing in the name. So going between is always difficult. So this one looks like it's getting the name. So we'll do this. Here, here, here. And then we'll do our clean down here. There we go. Okay, good enough. That. Okay, so there's our little Valkyrie. Cool. And let's go back to object mode and let's get rid of our Tommy. And we'll put our wings back. 0 and 0. Oh yeah, those slot in just right. Yes. Yes. Oh, that is so good. That is so good. Super stoked about that. Not really sure what this stuff is out here. Oh, I think that is... might be a drawing error, to be completely honest. Looks like something else left over. Huh. Strange. I'll have to figure out what that is up there, but... do I have 2 of those in there or something? Who knows? Who knows? I'll clean that file up later. But the important thing is the wings fit in with the character. Let me focus on my wings. Yeah, so those fit with the character really, really, really nicely. Super stoked about this. So, actually, let me see why this. Where's this coming from? That's not there. That's not there. Do I have like an extra piece of geometry in here or something? Oh, that's what that is, huh? There we go. I got brought in somehow. There we go. Wonderful. All right, so I'm gonna go and grab that constant from Material Network. Let's look at our camera. Let's lock that. I want this to be, I want to be able to see. Yeah, that's nice. That'll work. So I might have to rejig my lighting a little bit. That's rendering. I can say go around. So this fits in so well, so nicely into the back of those of this cloth. So I can probably bring these forward. I was a little bit too conservative here. And the great thing is I can still do that. Like if I was to do this by hand, I'd have to like grab like some chunks of feathers and like move them up over here. Now all I gotta do is I gotta go back into my feathers and just change that carve or change some of those growth attributes, and I get all my feathers, and like they're all exactly the same. So I'm still gonna get, you know, the right amount. I can probably even rotate these, because I was just going off of that off of the reference. I can rotate these down a little bit. I can kind of maybe bring these down like this, like that. So it's always nice to be able to go back. Like once you get that one thing working, to be able to go back and very easily. And this is why like where like the proceduralism pays off. You can always go back and like change some parameters and scoot stuff around, and everything will just kind of update, which is absolutely beautiful. Let's go look at a render view and see what that looks like. Oh yeah, joyful, so good. Rim lights hitting just right, like right here. Got a little bit of that blue tint to it. Yeah, I'm super happy with this. This is great. All right, so I'm gonna do. Let's go to mantra node. I'm gonna turn this. Let's see, 1/3. I'm gonna just go back to. I'm gonna turn off override and let this rip. And yeah, so I will call that the end of the stream. I'll be putting up, this will probably be, whatever comes out of this will probably be the poster frame for the image, so you can see that. I'll probably put this up on my Instagram as well. Yeah, so today, yes, win. It's always a good day when you can have a win at the end of the day, especially after a really rough day. I always like to book in my days with wins. So I get up in the morning and I work out. That's automatically a win, right? Like if you work out in the morning, everything else is easier. It's like if any of you have ever seen the movie Fight Club, it's like after you've been fighting, everything else, all the you know, the noise of the world gets just turned down because everything, you've already done something really hard. So there is something to be said for suffering in the morning. It makes everything else a little bit easier. Today, not so much. Had a lot of technical difficulty today, but it all came together in the end. Super happy with how this turned out. Everything kind of came together. I'll probably do some tweaking between the streams, and then the next stream I will switch gears and we're going to start to work with some of the Talons. So while that's running, and I got about 7 minutes left. So let's look at the little preview for next time. So let's go to my references. Reference images. Let's do reference and Talons. So these guys, right? So the challenge of this is going to be getting like this structure, right? Like I have like these little interlocking parts here. So that's going to be really, really interesting to try to get those to look. I'm not trying to get exactly like this, but I'm trying to get close. I want to get the essence of this, kind of like some of these guys. And this is, I can probably do this with cell noise or maybe some sort of scatter. And then the other part is going to be these kind of dinosaur plates. Like birds are just such weird creatures. They're basically just they're tiny dinosaurs. They're tiny flying dinosaurs. But I think this is my best. I think I talked about this one a couple of streams ago. Yeah, so how these little nodules are like smaller here and they're tightly packed, and they're a little bit bigger here and they're not so tightly packed, and then we have like these kind of like really, really cool, almost lizard-like dinosaur plates that are on the top of each of the appendages. So I'm really excited about that. Probably going to do much the same thing as we did with the feathers, you know, kind of build a super high-res version in Houdini using proceduralism, and then I may just like take that, like just that whole high-res model and just do all my baking in Substance. So I'll probably do this in Substance Painter, so I have a little bit more control over everything. And yeah, so let's see where this is at. So this is saying this is going to take an hour, but look at that. Oh my god, look at all that detail. Look at that beautiful detail. Oh man, I can't wait for this to render. I'm going to check this in the morning. All right, so this is your little sneak preview for next time, right? It's a little sneak preview to see that all that glorious detail that's going to come out of this. All right, cool. That's my stream. Thank you so much for coming. Remember, it's cgspectrum.com/3D-modeling. I'm Bryan Bentley. You're you. Be good to you. Wash your hands. Get enough rest. Be kind to yourself. And I'll see you next week. All right, take it easy.